put us back on, right? So, you know, when you put the snow globe back on the right direction, you have all those little flakes of snow going all over the place. Well, that's what is unsettled is that you are now free falling, but you do not see the ground yet. You know, so whatever you counted on before, whatever you knew, whatever was your routine, your habits, your structures, all that is disrupted. So the first thing with being unsettled is an enormous amount of compassion for yourself and for others. It is, I mean, nobody has ever lived this century through a global pandemic. I think, oh yes, there was one at the beginning of the century, right? The Spanish flu. But we haven't. We haven't lived through a global pandemic. So compassion, no judgment, no opinion, just like compassion for yourself and others. So the question, Misha, which is a great question, is why do we get unsettled? Right? So, for that, and if I speak too much, don't hesitate to interrupt me, right? Because I always
just wanted to ask people if there is one word of what keeps you unsettled, put it in the comment. That way we kind of all I want everybody to be present to their unsettledness so we get on the other side.
Oh, that's very good. So if everybody put one feeling or one emotion that they're not used to, that they're experiencing right now, you put it on the chat, on the conversation, so that we know the wide range of things that people are experiencing and can be labeled as unsettling. Yeah? Okay. All right. So if we look at the design of human beings, so why look at the design of human being in a time like that, right? It's because if you bring awareness is always the ultimate power. Being aware is looking straight at what is happening. And the moment you are related to reality and are aware, that moment opens up a choice for yourself. And in those times of unsettling, one of the consequences is that we feel we are powerless and don't have control. So the moment you bring awareness, you get to a place of choice, then at least you have that kind of power, right? Make a choice on who to be, not on what to do. We all confine, not on what to do with the virus, except if you're a doctor, a health worker, or somebody that has actually an action that you can take to resolve the crisis. But for many of us, we are at home, and that is the action, and the power we can have is get to a place of choice so that we can choose who we are being, and then we can take the action that will free us, right? So why are we unsettled? Well, if we look at the design of the ego, right? So the ego is everything. You know, sometimes people do not understand what the ego is. Sometimes people think that the ego is being arrogant or being forceful, of being dominating. You know, you hear people say things like, oh, he has such an ego, or she has such an ego, talking about an arrogant person. That's not what the ego is. The ego is everything we use to go through life. Other than when you meditating, not talking to anybody, in a Zen monastery on top of a mountain somewhere, in total silence, with no interaction with human beings. Then maybe you don't need an ego. But the rest of life, to be able to exist on this material life, everything we are using is the ego. So there is a side of the ego that works and the side of the ego that doesn't work. Okay? So to go back to being unsettled, there is two ways we can be in life. We can either be in the survival mode, or we can be in the being alive mode. So it's very easily understandable. Imagine the most beautiful butterfly is just flying in front of your eyes right now. The beauty of the wings, the beauty of the movement. Oh, can you not feel it? It's absolutely beautiful. You are present in the beauty of the moment. That is called being alive. There is no threat to you whatsoever. And you can just be present to everything around you, right? That's being alive. Now, change of scene. A rhinoceros is in your living room. I just pictured it. A rhinoceros is in your living room. Forget about the beauty of the beast. You are going to survive it. You're either going to attack the beast, run away as fast as you can, or freeze. That's survival mode, right? So the ego is designed for when you are in danger, in physical, immediate danger, you go survival mode. And survival includes all your biochemistry kicking in, your adrenaline, your hormonal system, the blood goes to your mind, you get clear-headed, and you're ready to act in the moment, right? Survival, and it's a lot of stress, but it's okay because it's in a short time, right? So you're nearly in an accident and suddenly you find yourself having a reflex. Amazing, you avoid the truck, right? So there is two problems with survival, right? The first one is it reactivates, obviously, fear. See, fear is good because if you didn't know and if you were not frightened of the rhinoceros, you'll probably invite him for a cup of tea. That would not work, right? So fear is good. Fear is a good mechanism, but not if it is unconscious fear. And the problem with fear is that you go and operate at your reptilian level in your brain, and very often you let go of your awareness and consciousness. It's okay if it's on a short time. It's not okay if it's in a long time. Now, what are we dealing with a global pandemic? We are looking at a real threat. So survival is called for life and death, survival, right? But it's two things about it. It's going to be over a long period of time, and it needs to be conscious survival, not unconscious survival. And I don't know about you, but I haven't had to generate conscious survival since, well, September 11, I think that was the last time I was in conscious survival. And the plane happened over a few hours. Then the survival was just dealing with the tragedy, right? But to deal with conscious survival for a long period of time, that we need to practice. Hence those calls about awareness, so that we learn what it means to be a conscious survival, because unconscious survival, that's deadly. And I'm not only talking about physicalness, it can put you into danger, but I'm also talking about the lack of awareness will have people attack each other, literally behave like unconscious people do with anger and hatred and suspicions and everything that will not help the current situation.
No, that's great, Sophie. So I feel I got it. So we all got into this survival mode, which is also not immediate. Like you need to run away from a dog or hide someplace, right? This is a long-term survival. And we also, I remember Jean-Paul Sartre, his book, No Exit, right? Where we all also stuck in these circumstances with people that we love and chose, but that we deal with all aspects of our character and anxiety with them in these circumstances.
Yeah,
And I
and it's very good what you said, Misha, right? Because it's dead on. For most of us, we don't have the symptoms, right? So if you have a symptom right now, if you have coronavirus right now, you're in full survival, and so should you, and take care of yourself, and it will be okay. And remember, it's only 2%, right? 2% are in danger. But the rest of us, the threat is still there. And it's there for the people around us that we love, and the people in our life that are the 2% at-risk people around us, right? So it is survival. It might not be immediate survival, but it's immediately after immediate.
I wanted also to give you like a little like examples of what people dealing with not having a home and figuring out where they live, being a full-time parent, worrying about parents that live in New York that are older, worry for all elderly people in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Not knowing how long this will last, and transitioning from a very active life to a life of self-isolated within your home. So these are some of the things that people said.
Yeah, and certainty, we know nothing. We know nothing. We don't know how long it will last. We don't know where it will go. We don't know if the virus will mutate. We don't know if our loved one will be safe. I mean, literally, the uncertainty is very difficult to be with, right? So if again, I'm going to go into awareness, right? So the uncertainty, even in period of calm and no danger, is very difficult for human being to be with, right? And the reason for that is because the whole of the material life as we know it is constantly moving. Even your body is not a thing. I know we tend to look at our body like a thing, but you don't have the same body than you have 5 or 10 years ago, did you? So you don't have the same body than when you were 2 years old, right? Even the body, moment by moment by moment, moves. This is what time and space are, is that everything moves. The mind, the body, the whole world is in constant movement. And if you notice, as human beings, we try to stop that movement. We try to control it, right? So because we want to be able to count on something that doesn't move, that doesn't change. So because it feels better for us inside of our ego, like at least we can plan and predict. But if you go against the constant movement of the world, that's where the suffering and the stress happens, right? The only thing that never changes is the timeless. And what is timeless? You are timeless. Just give me a minute. Everybody on the call, just close your eyes just for a second, right? Get present first to the whole movement of our life. Everything moves constantly. Your thoughts, your emotions, your body, life itself. Everything is in movement. And behind this constant movement, since the day you were born, there is a constant. Something that never changes, is always the same. It's timeless. That's who you are. And that's what you can count on to get settled. This timelessness of you. Your body will go. It will go. Your mind will go with your body, but you will never go. You are timeless, beyond space and time. And this is what you want to connect to ground yourself and get settled, this timelessness. The rest is just movement, and you cannot control it.
Okay, so where I am in this journey, like I got it. I got the unsettled, not only on the level of feeling, but actually I'm aware of my unsettlement through the process that you took us. And I'm aware that there's all these mechanisms, and I'm very present to my own mechanism in terms of how I survive and what I do in the times of crisis. And now there's timeless, like Can you tell us more what it is? How to access it? Can you, like, how can we, you know, it's not like I've never heard about Timeless. I have, but how do we access this? What does it, and I also, do different people experience differently? Take us there, Sophie.
Tell me how. Tell me how. All right. So this little exercise, like I asked you to do, so it should give you a hint on how to connect to who you really are. But here's a difficult thing, right? So if we look at the physicalness of our world, okay, you got it. It's in time, inside of time and space, and everything changes. Then there is a quantum, what I call the quantum. That's the unchanging, timeless, right? That never changes. That's where you can call your soul or yourself, whatever you want to call it, who you really are. And then there is a divine, people call it love or energy or God, right? So the divine, the quantum, and the material. Now, the quantum, which is what we were presenting just 5 minutes ago, the quantum where who you really are, your soul, the one that is eternal forever, has no shape, no form. You cannot access it with your 5 senses. Why? Well, because it's not on the material plane, right? So you cannot use what we use on this plane to access the quantum. You just need emptiness. Hence, a lot of you meditate, right? Why? Just that. It's like a whiff, Misha. You need to go in silence and just keep letting go of everything. And you will get, it's like a perfume. I call it an essence. And there is not much else I can say about it, because it's not possible, neither by language nor by the 5 senses, to talk about it. Right? But if you go silent, look, we can do it all together right now. Just no thoughts. Just let it arise. You don't have to do anything. Just breathe into it, and you will see there will be an experience. That's the unchanging, the timeless. And that has been with you as far as you can remember, always there in the background. So being aware is bringing it to the foreground and expressing it through our 5 senses in this material life. That is what is called being aligned, being connected.
It's great. So I wanted to open up for questions also. If you have questions, please type them in the comment section, because I see them and I'll pass them on to Sophie. And Sophie, there's a lot of people that's saying hello to you, so that you know.
Oh, that's nice. Hello, 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 everybody. If I know you, I love you, and I'll see your comments later. So please send me comments, because I always want to learn where I'm clear, where I'm not clear, and where I could go deeper or not. So don't hesitate to contribute.
So here I am. So I'm just taking what you're saying, and you know me, I want to know to how. I want people to be left with it. So I know, like, imagine, so this is my moment in a day when, you know, I'm doing work, I'm on a conference call, or I'm on a Zoom call, and then one of my daughters is screaming as loud as she can, and my son wants my laptop because yes, and I don't know, and and you know, and there's a bunch of other things happening, because we just moved into a new house, and they're unsettled, and then I am literally, where is that timeless? How do I even remember about it?
All right. Well, Misha, you and I got on the call 5 minutes before everybody else, right? And I said to you, okay, Misha, let's just spend a few seconds or minutes to just be present to what we want to accomplish on the call.
Yes.
And at that moment, we let go of, I hope the Zoom meeting will work. I hope Facebook will, I hope people will join. I hope this, I hope that, I hope I'll be clear. We let go of everything.
Yes.
Until we got clear. Oh, we want to see if we can make a difference with people and give them something. At that moment, we got connected. So before, from time to time, it doesn't have to take long. You just stop and say, what am I committed to here? What is my intention? Like, for example, if you go and say, okay, this hour I'm spending with my children, create an intention. Intentions are extremely powerful. I have the intention that for this hour, my children experience being known, seen, and loved. That's it. And you stay true to that intention. This is how you keep being alive. Just create intention. And sometimes you have an intention for your life. Sometimes you have an intention for your work. At a time of crisis, I create intention for every single call and every single hour of my day so that I am sure I'm aware and present. So intentions are very powerful.
So I love the word clearing, because it's really like you clean your plate, right? You just pause for a second and you clear and you let everything go and say, what is my intention? Maybe for the task at hand or for my next task, or what it is I'm giving myself fully, right?
Yeah, but there is something else that is very important, Misha, and everybody on this call, right? So this morning, I deal with the world, right? I make a difference during this time of crisis by talking to people. So I just talked to Ghana, Ethiopia, Burkina Faso, South Africa, Morocco, France, Spain, right? And you hear people dealing with a lot in all those countries. And I got overwhelmed by the sorrow, literally overwhelmed. It was on my chest. I couldn't breathe. Right now, I'm aware enough not to go on doing what I do without stopping, to just let that move through me, because otherwise I get impacted and I'm not functioning, right? So I just really want to explain something to people, if I may, to give them freedom. Why it's very important to be aware of what is happening with you is not to be self-centered. It's not to be egocentric. It's not to think about yourself. It's so that you can function. So if you remember the 3 dimensions I gave you, right? The divine, the quantum, and the material world. The mystic call those 3 dimensions the river of life. So I want you to imagine a river. You can imagine it pure light. Imagine it as you want. Starts with the divine, creates a quantum, creates a material, back up again, right? It's also where the chakras, it goes through the chakras. It's the Kundalini awakening. And we could say that the enlightened people of our world, the mystics, the saints, are people that have that river of life be fully functioning, like free, flowing, clear river, pristine, pure, okay? Now, if you're not present to what's happening with you, like this profound sorrow I experienced this morning, at that moment, we become a beaver. And what do beaver do? Beaver builds dams, right? Dams to stop a river. Right? So the moment you're not aware, consider yourself a beaver. You build a dam, and what is a dam for? Is for the water to be stuck behind. So why do we become a beaver? Because there are some emotions that are so uncomfortable for us to experience that we don't want to experience them. Sorrow, anger, rage, fear, resentment, jealousy, all those emotions that we don't like. So what we do, we say, no, I'm not going to experience it. The moment you don't want to experience it, you build a dam and you cut, you stuck, you make the river of life stuck. And what happened behind the dam? The water gets big and big and big. You have rusted old cars, dead fish, rotten apples, tree trunks. It all gathers behind. Okay? But the most important is you've stopped the river of life. And I said at the beginning of the call, on our material plane, everything moves, everything changes. So the most important is to remove the dam. That's what awareness does. Then you will experience the rusted car, the dead tree, the dead fish, and the thing. That's not very pleasant, but it goes quite fast. until you have the clear water or clear whatever energy of the river of life. And that's what awareness makes possible. So the moment I got present to being in the most profound sorrow, and I could not let it go by myself, I called my mentor, I cleared with her, I talked to her, I cried with her, and I let it pass through. Hence, I can function on this call. Okay? So intention and being present to what's happening with you, not just to be present to it, but design for yourself whatever works so you can let it move. Nothing stuck. Movement is the answer.
So I hear two things
Okay,
that are profound for me. The one is allowing yourself to experience whatever is there. That's really an access, because whatever you don't experience is just stuck there, and it just contributes to your unawareness, and it's actually piles up, and it actually blocks you from functioning fully in a life. The other thing that I really struck that you called your mentor is actually, maybe there are two things that A, we're not designed to do it by ourselves, right? So there is, and we not always can do it by ourselves.
We cannot always. That was too deep and too profound. I needed another human being to help me move it.
And it's you, sorry, Sophie, you're very trained. You went through a lot of, I was like, if Sophie cannot do it by herself, I think most of us humans definitely. And the other thing that I've heard, and maybe that's the third thing, that I can be that person if somebody has to call me, that this is the time to build community and connections, because everybody is dealing with something. Everybody has a lot of feelings about themselves, about their family, about the humanity on whatever level. And none of us can do it by ourselves. So on one hand, we're very isolated. We cannot go and hug anybody, you know, some of our friends or family. But on the other hand, this is an opportunity for connection and to be that person to somebody that you can listen to them and let them clean up the river and not to be a beaver.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of advice, okay? So yes, please do that for each other in a time like now more than ever. We are in it together, and the thing I pray will come out of this global pandemic is that human being will remember that the most important is our relationship, and that there is nothing else in our relationship. So please just go. Now, there is just one little thing to be aware, is that if you remember me saying to you to set an intention, the person that you want to support to move through their emotions, just make sure they have the intention to let the emotion move.
Yeah, great.
Because sometimes some of us try to hold on to the emotion and pretend we want to let it go. And then you will get exhausted, frankly. And also you might just get a little bit annoyed. So just very nicely saying, oh, my dear, you need to talk, of course. So let's just say that after our conversation, you are totally free. This is what we're going to do. Is that a deal? And then you know the other person knows your intention and aligns with your intention. Okay, so that is not a kind of wallowing in emotions and psychology. That's not what I'm talking about. So I just wanted to give you that little tip, just to make sure you have an aligned intention.
So one of the questions that came in from Gunil Chung, I'm so happy to see you and hear your voice again, Sophie. Question, how often do you find yourself being that silent and are aware of your quantum soul eternal? I'm curious about your personal experience of this in your life.
Well, I'm, this is my life, right? So you have to know, I don't have small children. This is my work. This is my life. It's not even my work. It's my mission. I mean, I breathe 24 hours a day awareness. So I spend up to 4 to 6 hours in silence every day. And either meditating or listening to a master, I also call that silence, or just literally silence. And I know not everybody can do that. You just got to remember, this is my mission, right? So I'm very fortunate. But I didn't always do that in my life, because I used to have, as you know, if you know me, I used to lead seminars that requires a lot of action. So I got half an hour in the morning and half an hour at night. I could take, I love being in water, so I can take this moment in warm water with a candle. I can do that while I walk. You can do that while you sit in your car, not driving though. Don't do that, but it doesn't take long. Okay, and during those crisis time, if you find yourself with more time than you normally are, you should schedule time for you to be with yourself. You know, the mistake that most people make is trying to find power outside of themselves. You need to go in. You need to go in. So if you can schedule that time on your day planner, this is my time for myself, capital S. I am going to just feed my soul and align with my soul. You don't have to do anything specific. You can be in beauty. You can be listening to music. You can be in silence. I promise you that will make a difference.
That's awesome. And it's very helpful. And that's something that I personally will take on with more rigor, because I do those things, but I see that actually in the time of distress, I do less of them.
Yes.
Because there's something that's taking me out, where in reality, at the time of distress, I should be actually doing more of that.
Yeah. And Misha, you know, this is what is being unsettled, right? So I told you 40%, I've lost 40% of my capacity, I think. And so what I've done as a practical action is that I have taken my day planner, and my day is planned from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. And I plan my walk, my eating, my shower, my exercising, my calls, my getting dressed. Literally, I'm just planning everything so that I don't have to think. I'm just following what I have written down. So structures in time of crisis are very important. And day planners, the moment you put it in your day planner, then you don't have to think about it. So your capacity expands to be present.
That's very true. I want to remind everybody that we're taking questions. So if you have a question or a comment, please write it in Facebook Live. I would like to read you a comment from Vlada Bricks, who's saying, some of my friends are doctors and are literally surviving and helping others to survive. They are bitter, exhausted, and scared. I work from home. My family's safe and I still get paid. I'm decluttering my home, do virtual yoga, and post in my group. I feel guilty. I get it so easy, and they are fighting the raging war.
Yeah, guilt won't help. I do understand guilt, but guilt is allows you to avoid being present. Yeah, I know it's harsh what I'm saying, but take it. Just ponder in it. Don't believe me, just try it out. Guilt is a glue of the ego. It's a glue of survival, okay? So guilt doesn't help anybody and just has you lose your power. So in time of crisis, there are some people that are in the front line. Those people chose to be health workers. Okay? This is the time for them to be in the front line. I'm so grateful. I honor them. I admire their courage. Whenever they need to speak, whatever I can provide for them, they are my priority, and I will provide it for them. Guilt, no use. And if you would be, I think, served better to say to yourself, okay, I'm not a health worker, what can I contribute? That would be more useful than feeling guilty. And yes, you do have a choice about what you feel. Just in case you find me too harsh, you do have a choice. Bring awareness. And thank God some children have their parents at home. Those children are lucky. The wheel turns. Don't worry. Everybody plays their part.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you. So we going into conversation. I think that's a great transition to talk about contribution, right? One thing that I personally found at the moment of my distress is understanding, getting present to, you know, when I was very, like, literally on the bottom of like paralyzed, don't know what to do. And then there was like a little hint of awareness came into my, just a tiny bit. And then I also actually get present that I'm lucky. You know, I actually have a roof over my head. My children are healthy. You know, we maybe not in the circumstances where we're expected to be. And then I got present to there's a lot of other people that in the similar situation or worse than I am, but that everybody is in distress. And there was this a particular moment for me personally where I said, I actually should go and call these few people and check on them and how they're doing, because maybe they need something. By the way, if there was something that completely, like almost like this heaviness lifted off my heart, is by doing that. So Sophie, can you talk a little bit about ways, how can we be useful? You know, like especially if you...
But it's so good what you said. I have to say something about why it's that way, right? Why is it that when we take care of others, we feel better? Okay, so it's really logical. It's very simple to comprehend. Imagine we have a mind, right? We have a body, we have a mind, we have a soul. Okay, great. The mind, there is a automatic mind, which is a reptilian brain that controls, dominates, reacts, survives, attacks, runs away, or frees. That's a part of our mind. And there is a conscious mind connected to the soul that has you just bring love and take care of others and actually make choices. Okay, two mind. Mm-hmm. Guilt, right, has you go back to the reptilian mind. Right? And when you think of yourself to make yourself wrong, right? Because when you guilt is that you have no compassion for yourself, you have no love for yourself, all you're doing is making yourself wrong for not being enough or for being too lucky. The looking at yourself, what you're looking at is your reptilian mind. That's why we call it self-centered or egocentric. So every time you feel sorry for yourself, feel guilty, you know, make yourself wrong, don't love yourself, criticize yourself, you are literally useless for the rest of the world. You are stuck in the reptilian mind. So the moment you actually go and make a difference in the life of another person, in that moment, you have triumphed over the automatic mind. It's a triumph. You suddenly triumphed over that unconscious survival, and you brought love. And love is divine. There you are, back to be connected. So when you feel depressed, angry, lonely, whatever, make a difference with other people. And one of the way, my favorite way to make a difference that is available for everybody is to use this global pandemic to teach people to think consciously. That means bringing awareness to their thoughts, their emotions and feeling, their actions. So I was on a call this morning with somebody in France that was angry and there was quite a lot of hatred there automatically, right? This is part of the grieving process also. People can get angry and want to lash out. And all I did was ask questions. Why are you saying that? Does it make you feel better? Do you really mean what you say? Or is it just because you have so much pain inside that you don't know how to let it go? So I base myself on the Socratic method. Socrates asked questions. He never had answers, but he had the question. And this is how you practice awareness, by questioning everything you feel, everything you do, everything you say, and then engage in conversation that makes a difference by bringing awareness and educating others, including your children, to bring awareness. And that is a marvelous way to make a difference if what your role is in this crisis is to take care of your family, for example, and your children. It's time to create a new culture for humankind. Awareness is the ultimate power. Okay, I get excited, sorry.
By the way, one thing that I didn't mention when I introduced you is that that's your commitment, creating the foundation of a new type of consciousness, right, for human mankind.
Of a new culture for humankind, one of consciousness versus unconsciousness, yeah.
No, this is so great because no, I actually got moved with your words and also kind of reflecting my own life and my own being, where I can raise the bar for myself and where I can be more present and what I can contribute that makes a difference. I think Vlada responded yes to, she has the guilt comment, right? Yes, of course. I'm contributing already with what I can. I'm giving up guilt right now. So that's
good for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you see, one more aware in the world? This is what we need now. We need people aware like you are. And I really thank you for letting me speak so straight and taking it. Thank you.
And the other thing that I'm also learning here, that actually our way of being at the time of crisis, actually a great model for our children, right? Because frankly, I think they've seen not the best of me in the past several weeks, but what I am also want to teach them, and I've been trying to teach them, but I guess I need to get lessons of myself, is being aware of myself and of feelings and of.
And Michelle, look, right? Look at the political level, right? Look at who brings you peace and who brings you a bit of hope. What leaders are actually the one you want to listen to and model yourself on versus others? Because in time of crisis, you know exactly the real value of people, right? Because it's easy to be great when everything goes great. It's easy to be kind and laughing and generous when everything goes well. It's when the circumstance just go crazy. That's where you see the real, what people are made of. You know? So the same way that I am choosing the news I'm listening to, and by the way, no more than an hour a day, otherwise you go crazy, but I'm choosing who I'm listening to by the leadership they're providing, the same way your children will do. You, the leaders in their life. So this is a very great opportunities for parents.
So Yelena Latier is saying, I love, love, love the awareness as the commitment and philosophy, and I'm taking that on. Oh,
great. Great. How exciting.
So I know we have about 10 minutes left. So my question to you, I see that this coronavirus is already changing the whole fibers of our society. Do you have any predictions or any vision of post-corona times? How will we get better? Will we get better? Will we get worse? What's there to expect, and how we can be contributing? We talked a little bit about a contribution, but I'm thinking about future and moving ahead.
Okay. So as I said, Misha, earlier on, is that I've never been confronted with such a global crisis before, okay? So none of us have, so I've been giving it a lot of thinking, right? But all I can say is I have absolutely no idea what will happen, nor how long it will last. I think it will last long, but I don't know how long, and I hope I'm wrong, okay? So, and I see two outcomes. So if we look at the quantum reality and the souls, right? I think, and by the way, don't believe what I say. I'm just sharing my personal view of things, right? I think animals have a group soul, like all the dogs and all the dolphins and all the cats. They have a group soul. And I think human beings not only have a species, like a group soul, but also have individual souls. Okay, that's an interpretation of our consciousness. Okay, but I think we're dealing with a karma at the group, species, soul level as a human being. Okay, so this is where I'm taking responsibility for. It's a species karma we're dealing with right now, right? It's a global crisis at the level of our human being species. So for me, being incarnated onto this earth is the opportunity to elevate and heal our souls. This is how I see life. Life and all the experience and all the circumstances each of us have in our life have one intention, and one intention only is to elevate ourselves, heal what there is to heal so that we can elevate ourselves towards the divine. This is how I see the game of life. You might not share that, but this is my view. So, as a species, you like it or not, for me, there is only one way to go, is elevate ourselves. And I know that the world we had pre-corona pandemic didn't work for me. It just didn't work. I do not think that borders work. I do not see that racism, little children dying of hunger, wars, inequality, that the main, most sought after thing in the world is money. That doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. And I know it doesn't work for a lot of you, right? So I hear people saying, oh, I can't wait to go back to normal. And I'm saying, what? What normal do you want? Crooked politician? Having to pay thousands and thousands of dollars so that you can sign a contract? Having money being the main commodity and the most important, going to work being more important than being in your family? I personally would rather we create another reality. So there is two options. Either we're going to elevate ourselves as a species and get that love is the most important commodity we have and the only one. And then this pandemic would have contributed to the elevation of humankind. Or, I can hardly say it, or we won't learn anything and go back to what it was. So the question is, how much suffering do we need to wake up? But the possibility of waking up is irresistible to elevate ourselves. And that's what I stand for. Now, what will happen? I have no idea. For the moment, 60% of people call me a crazy one.
Thank you. I think this was very, like, on all levels, you know. I think, and I took some notes in terms of practical, there are certain practical things that people can be left with. I think we also talked about these big ideas and big future that's possible. And I thank you for bringing the vision and hope and actually grounding. I'm actually wanted to see if you guys could comment, and some people say and moved. Can you talk a little bit about, like we talked about being from unsettled to grounded? What did you get out of this conversation? It would be the last few minutes if you can share. And I took a few notes, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about some practical things that you could be left with based on this conversation. A, if you are unsettled, it's just being present to that and putting light into that. And experiencing whatever there is to experience, you know, good or bad, letting it be the experience.
Move.
Move it. Yes,
Move.
let it move versus it being stuck. I love the idea of clearing that there could be a moment at any moment, but it could be actually also a very intentional moment where you literally let go and everything and think about your intention in the present moment, whether it's you doing work, whether you being with your children, with your spouse, or whatever it is, just letting go. The planning part I thought was very helpful, you know, especially in the time of uncertainty. Planning actually helps to ground us. We talked about we're not designed to go through this thing on our own, and there are certain things that we experience. We need another human to listen to us, and we could be that person that listens and brings awareness, given that people are willing and ready to be in that conversation. So these are some of the things. Anything I'm missing, Sophie, in terms of?
No, that was very good. Planning, I'm always a bit suspicious when people say planning. Well, I'm not talking about planning and making to-do lists, right? I'm literally talking about scheduling, meaning you put it in time and space in your day planner and you do it when the time comes. Okay.
Great. Excellent. Any last words of wisdom? So I just have maybe a few comments. Brilliant, deeply moving and transforming. Thank you for creating the space in this community. I love you, Sophie, and so profoundly moving hearing you. This has felt like 1 hour transformational course.
I am blessed, and I'm blessed because I get to spend my day with people like all of you that are actually interested in awareness and are just willing to take the risk to go beyond the limit, right? And I do, I just know it deep down in my bones, everybody, the transformation and the creation of a new culture for humankind is coming from the ground up. Mm. You don't need to have diplomas, have a power, work or whatever. It starts where we are. And I'm going to let you with Gandhi, I think, that said, be the change you preach. Mm. Right? And I love you very profoundly, even those of you that I do not know. And I hope Misha will re-invite me soon and we can have another call. Please keep writing your comments because I love reading them. It gives me the courage and the strength to go on. I love you.
Thank you very much. So one thing I want to say, this is something I discovered recently. There is an option to have a watch party. So if you want this talk to be available on your wall, you can click on watch party. You can tag Sophie or me, or then we will also be able to see and potentially answer questions. The other thing, I'm committed to bringing a lot of interesting conversations to this group. So always a question, what are you interested? Or maybe you know somebody who has something profound and important to say at these times. I'm all ears. Thank you. I love you. And I hope you are using this time dealing with whatever circumstances you're dealing with, the time for your personal awakening. And anyway, thank you. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.